Is Chris Watts actually innocent? Let's talk about that. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Prairie Boy 77 coming at you again, and we're going to be talking about the Chris Watts case one more time. Now, a lot of you are new to my channel, and thank you guys for coming over, subscribing. Thank you for all your comments. Well, most of you, some of you are a little douchey, but whatever. It's going to happen. So, a lot of you guys might be wondering what exactly my thoughts are on how this whole thing went down. Did Chris actually kill everybody? Is he innocent? Is he a patsy? Was the whole thing a fake? I mean, there are a lot of theories going around that, wow, I mean, a person could really get lost. And when you pour over the discovery and you go through the minutiae of everything, it's very easy to miss stuff. It's very easy to just get lost and get off on a tangent and kind of lose focus. Now, for those of you who do know me, you know that I'm not one for wild conspiracies. I'm very logical, very straightforward, and I'm honest. I'm not going to deceive you guys and say something that I know isn't true. So, with that in mind, let's talk about whether or not Chris is guilty. Now, when I first come onto this Chris Watts thing, it was actually because of my wife, Cher. I had no knowledge of the true crime world on YouTube. I had no knowledge of this case at all. And I actually kind of lost interest in the case because it felt like it was just going in circles. You know, people had their theories, innocent, guilty, did it solo, people involved, NK, and it just seemed repetitive. And it just seemed like it was never going to go anywhere. But then there have been a couple of things like that one where someone said they saw NK upstairs on the body cam footage. Of course, I debunked that. But there are still people who believe it. I don't understand how, but they do. So things like that got me thinking, what if I could just take a very logical and common sense approach to this? So that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to go right back to when I first started. Like I said, I knew nothing about it. The first thing I saw on Chris Watts was his interview on the porch. Now, at the time that I watched this the first time, I didn't know that he had confessed. I knew he was found guilty and in prison. And I knew that there were questions surrounding that. So I went into it with an open mind. Now, what I knew was if he had done it, it would have happened before this interview. Like they were killed before this interview took place. I knew that, but that's all I knew. So I was watching this, and at first I was like, okay, this guy doesn't seem to have any clue that his wife and children are dead. But then as I watched, it started to kind of wash over me that he doesn't seem all that worried. He doesn't seem exhausted, worn out, like someone would be if, 3 people that they love, well, his pregnant wife, so it's technically 4, and 2 daughters vanished. He didn't seem that upset. Like he was sitting there, well, standing there, kind of rocking back and forth, arms crossed, which is a sign of being guarded. But he didn't seem distraught. He didn't seem really sad. He seemed a little bit nervous, but that's it. So, I was watching, I'm thinking, he's hard to say how anyone would react in a situation like that, right? But it did seem off to me. But then the clincher was at the very end of that interview, and I will put this interview down in the video description. I'm sure you've seen it, but in case you haven't, when the reporter asked him if he could speak to his wife or kids, what would he say? He never said, I love you. He never said, I miss you. He said, I want you to come back. Now, he kept saying that, come back, come back. He did say home a couple of times, But it seems weird. Like if your wife and your kids were gone from your home and you could say something to them, wouldn't you say, I want you to come home, I love you, I miss you, you know, I'm nothing without you. Like you would say something along those lines, right? But nothing. So then, fast forward a little bit, I got to see the interrogation, the lie detector and all that, and he confessed. And more than just that, even when confessing, like other than the occasional little bit, he still didn't have much emotion. Like he really didn't seem like he had any regret or anything like that. Now, my theory, well, was obviously that he did do this. Um, Someone else may or may not have been involved. A lot of people point the finger at NK. I'm not going to get quite into that. I will say it's a possibility. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. It is a possibility. But I kind of had a little bit of a different tweak on this whole thing because I've heard people talking and, they say Chris was very weak-willed. That's not the way they phrase it, but you get what I'm saying. He's basically told what to do, when to do it, how to do it his whole life. And his marriage was no different. He was not the leader of that household. Always told what to do, when he was doing things wrong, getting nagged a lot. Not saying Shanann was a bad person at all. This is just, we've seen it. We know this is true. So maybe NK comes along and yeah, maybe she's very manipulative and all that, but maybe she's not like bossy and domineering. So maybe she lets him, make some choices. She lets him be in charge. And maybe he really likes that. And then Shanann goes off for a work thing. She's gone with the kids for 6 weeks. So he has a 6-week honeymoon, basically, with this girl who, by his own words, took his breath away. And maybe she just treated him like a king. She just let him be the ruler, let him be the man. And obviously he didn't want that to end. He was, looking at separation and apartments or whatever. But then Shanann comes home, and maybe the reality of his life, his whole life, come up to that point, what it's been. Just being bossed around, bullied, told what to do. I think he just snapped. Maybe as soon as she got home and he was there, maybe she laid into him about something because he was getting more distant with her and the children. So maybe she laid into him and maybe he just had enough. Now, a normal person would just say, okay, we're getting a divorce and that's that. But someone who's, I don't know what the right word would be. I'm not a psychologist. But going back to the interview, everything that was going on, he showed no emotion. In the confession, he showed no emotion. Like this guy does not have a normal brain. There's something wrong. Like anyone else would be freaking out, losing their minds, crying, screaming, lashing out. There'd be rage, there'd be confusion, there'd be sadness. He had none of that. And some say maybe he wasn't shocked, but yeah, when people are in shock, they aren't as alert. I mean, if you're asking someone questions when they're in shock, you may have to repeat the question. They may have to take a minute to gather themselves to answer. He was like that with the questions, just bang, 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 no hesitation. So no, I don't buy shock. So yeah, maybe he just snapped, and just in a blind rage, like I can't live my life like this, killed his wife. But then he's got 2 witnesses in the house, and there has been lots of talk that he killed them in the house or they were alive when he went out to Survey. And he did say on the way there he was trying to think, how can I save my kids? So that might have been him trying to figure out how to explain Shanann's death so that the kids don't inadvertently let people know that Chris did it. So I don't know about that. Or it could have just been a complete blind rage. He's just went unhinged and killed all three. I don't know. What I do know is, for a guy who knew his dead children were in oil tanks and his pregnant wife was dead in a shallow grave, he did not seem upset. So, I think he is guilty. I think he did it. I think he killed all three. Did he have help? Like I said, maybe, but I don't know that yet. I will be digging more into things. But, so there you go, guys. That's my theory. And I want to know, what's your theory? Let me know in the comments below. Because, I mean, some people have some pretty, they can back up their stories pretty good. I mean, some things are just a little bit like, eh. But, like, even with my story, it's like, eh. Like the snapping and killing your wife thing, that happens. But the kids, like, it's no scenario seems to really line up perfect, you know what I mean? But, and unfortunately, even if Chris were to come out and say something new, how do we know he's telling the truth? He's how many different confessions did he do? How many different stories did he tell of how he did it, why he did it? I mean, can you really believe anything he says? It's so hard to tell. But I guess that's one of the reasons why this case is so big, because there are so many theories and there's no way to really disprove anything. But I figured I should let you guys know what my theory is. And like I said, let me know in the comments below what your theory is. And yeah, we'll get talking about it. Oh, and don't forget to come to my stream New Year's Eve, the True Crime Bash. Bring your beer, bring your coffee, bring your ganja, whatever you want, and we're going to have a blast. It's going to be great. And as always with my channel, everybody is welcome. No one is shunned. And we all treat each other with respect. That's the only thing I ask. And by the way, if you want to join the team, I did tweak the memberships thing because I was just kind of going with what YouTube said popular. And yeah, I added another one on the cheaper end because I realized that that's too much money. So yeah, check that out if you want. If not, no biggie. Okay, I just had a coughing fit. All right, that's it. And we'll see you on New Year's Eve, hopefully. We'll have some fun. And there's my theory. Let me know what your theory is. And yeah, we'll keep this party going. So we'll catch you then. And until then, this is Prairie Boy 77 saying good day, good night, and Godspeed.